If you could spend a moment with some remarkable people and discover what their life sounds like, what would you ask? Welcome to Are We On Air? An audio encounter. I'm Arman, and each episode will feature one conversation with an inspiring friend of mine who will share with us the soundtrack to their life. Greetings and welcome back to another episode of Are We On Air? If you can hear birds in the background, that is because I'm currently enjoying the beautiful views of Topanga, California. And I thought, what a great segment to our guest this week, who's not only a big lover and collector of exotic birds, but also one of the most interesting high-profile artists of our time, at least in my view. His name is Carsten Höller. Born to German parents in Belgium and living between Stockholm and Ghana. You might know Carsten's work as they're usually quite big and experiential, meaning the public is part of the artwork, which is exactly what I love doing, creating spaces for people to interact with it or each other. From his infamous giant slides to his psychedelic mushroom installation, to psychoactive reindeer urine, he's done some of the most entertaining pieces. Carsten and I first met in 2009 in London at his and mutual Prada's now infamous The Double Club, probably one of the coolest places I've ever been to. Back then, I was just a young student and DJ at the fringes of that world. But fast forward to 2017, where I had a full circle moment, where I was asked to co-curate the 3-day-long resurrection of the Double Club during Miami's Art Basel. And boy did we have fun. Again, probably one of the coolest projects that I had the chance to be part of. But you will hear all about it soon. We talked about Carsten's live soundtrack, of course, but also his fascination with birds, as you will hear throughout the interview, as Carsten has a beautiful collection of birds in his beautiful apartment in Stockholm. But we also talked about our shared love of African music. One, Carsten has an incredible house in Ghana, shared with his friend, the incredible artist, friend Marcel Odenbach. But more importantly, his love for the music and culture of the Congo. As always, you can follow and write us on Instagram, support us on patreon.com/areonair, and listen to the playlist of our guests on our Spotify and Apple Music page. Whew, that was a long one. Well, let's get to it. Carsten Höller, welcome to Are We On Air?
Thank you very much.
We're here in your beautiful home in Stockholm, Sweden. One of your many beautiful homes, I guess.
I have only two. I have a home in Stockholm, Sweden, and I have a home in Biriba, Ghana, in West Africa.
And how much time do you spend between each?
Well, obviously, like the idea was to do it like the birds, because they come to Sweden to breed, and they spend here, like the warmer part of the year. And then they fly all the way to Africa. And I always thought, why do they do this? There must be a reason. So I went to see, and I really liked it. And me and my friend Marcel Odenbach, so from Cologne,
Oh, yeah. He has an amazing exhibition right now.
Yes, I saw it. Yeah. I went. Yeah. I went there to see it. It's actually really amazing, this exhibition.
Yeah.
It's first time that he ever makes like a big retrospective of his works. So we came up with this idea of making a house, building a house in Ghana. And that was not planned at all. We just met in a little hotel that we heard about. And he came from Accra. And I was actually attending a music and theater festival in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. And so we basically met in the middle somewhere. He came from the east, and I came from the west, and then we met at this little hotel. We were just sitting there in the evening. We really enjoyed ourselves, and we pointed to this hill over there, above the beach, and said, like, why don't we build a house over there? And we did. It took 10 years, but
wow,
it is a fantastic place to be.
I love that that the birds inspired you to that lifestyle? I mean, you were surrounded when you're home, left and right. In each room, you have an amazing bird collection. Can you say that's a collection?
Yeah, before I had more when I still lived in Cologne, because I always try to refrain myself. It's like you get easily getting a bit like it gets too much. So in Cologne, I had like 100 birds or something.
Oh my God.
And then also in Sweden, I lived first in a house outside of the city, and I built like big aviaries.
Yeah.
And there are like all these birds, but now it's just a few. It's just, I have only 25 birds at the moment, but I already already ordered some new ones. Yeah. So
I love it. Talking about birds, and obviously this is music. We talk about music, but do you have a favorite song, a sing from a bird when they sing, like a favorite bird?
Yeah, well, you just said collection, right? Because it is a collection in that sense that I try to, the emphasis is on actually West African birds, because being, the bird maniac that I am, which I always try to suppress.
Is the movie The Birds by Hitchcock your favorite film?
But it's actually, it's more interesting for me to see how it is done. It's very interesting. He had a lot of bird trainers, but that's another story. So the birds I have are West African birds mainly, few European, and I want this to be like an orchestra. So one is like, just sometimes making like a low boom sound, and there's another one that is very curly and all the time like very high pitched. And then I also have like some birds are imitators of the others. So like I have a European starling, for instance, that sits together with some African orioles, and the orioles are very, they have a flute, almost like the sound, like a whistling, very tropical. And the starling imitates it so well. I don't know often, I don't know which one it is.
Wow, I didn't know.
And then he makes his own interpretation of it. And on this side, on the other side, in the real bird room, which is only for the birds, I have this one lark, and this lark is like a master imitator, just imitates all the other birds and makes it. So it's like a meta bird in terms of acoustics, because it's composing its own interpretation of what the other ones are doing.
That's a skill to have. It's a human skill in a way,
Because it's inventive. I don't know how the lark, takes the decision, but when I bring in a new bird, it takes a while before the lark takes it up and then builds it in its own song, which is still recognizable. I once had a bird that is only singing imitations. I don't have that here because it's not so good in a cage. It's called a European marsh warbler. So this bird doesn't make any sound on its own, just imitates other birds, which means that when you hear them in Europe singing, you can actually hear where they spent the winter in Africa, because they imitate certain birds that occur in certain regions. So it's
wow. And but does science know why they're doing this? There's got to be a reason why it's just copying, no? Or
science has, it's very hard to understand if there's like a subjective moment in all this, if the birds enjoy it in a way like we enjoy music, because that's not clear. There's certainly a function to the song, but there's also so much song in birds which we cannot see a function. So you think like, why do they sing in a way that doesn't make any sense? And often like, if it's the male that is like I don't know, defending the territory like the usual theories, or impressing the female, that's not enough. It's very often also like, it seems to be that they sing because they like it. And then they enjoy themselves. Often females also sing, and there's no reason why they should do that, because the male defends the territory in this species. And often also birds sing in duets, or even like in larger groups also, not just like one bird, but either a couple or like larger groups that together form an acoustic little group. So it's like comparable to, a band playing. And they will certainly start soon.
We're definitely going to record some of the sounds, for sure.
Yeah.
one of the sounds that I'm on the quest for is your sound, the soundtrack to your life. That's why we're doing this little interview series. And let's start with, what's your earliest significant musical memory that shaped you as an artist?
Wow. You know, I'm born 61. I'm turning 60 in 1 week. So I grew up with radio, believe it or not. And there was this Dutch hit parade, which is called Top of the Pops. And it always came at a certain time of the week. And we actually really sitting in front of the radio and listening. And then I remember this moment when, there must be much earlier stuff too, but you know, it sounds really cheesy, but ABBA, we knew, was making a new sound. And we knew it would be played on the radio. And we were sitting there, my friend and me, and it was Waterloo. Waterloo was the sound that then came out, and we just listened to it for the first time, and it was magic, because it was so you know, restrictive in terms of what you can get in terms of music. But the first record I ever bought was Rock Me Baby by, what's his name again? McGee.
Bobby McGee.
Is it Bobby or Gregory? Gregory McGee? I can look it up.
Yeah, well, I'll find it. So
okay,
I'll find it and play it.
It's a very nice song. I still love it. Like this was, because this, you know, this was also like the first record player I had. The first record I bought. Barry McGee? No.
I think it's Bobby McGee.
It's very like a blubbering sound, and it's like the first experience I had when it's like, you know, you can, because this is something which I still do sometimes, that I listen to one record over and over again. You know, this thing, like, can't get enough of it. It's just like so good. So you go on and on and on. The same record. You don't want to hear anything else.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
It's like, I call it the song of the week, and it's just, you hear it so much until it's like, oh, you can't listen to it. You need a break from it, and then you go rediscover it at a later point again, and I'm like, oh yeah, and then.
But my first concert, I think, was actually Patti Smith.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I know, in the forest. It's like a Veranstaltungslokal, like a venue in Brussels where I grew up. It was very impressive. I don't even know how I got in there.
You blagged your way in. Patty, yeah. My first interview. That was
First
Patty.
one.
Yeah. I mean, that's where you started. And I'm okay, where do I go from here? But going back to you, I mean, you're one of those artists. We worked together semi before on the Prada Double Club, or associated together. And you're one of those artists I just admire so much because we speak, or at least that's my perception, the same language when it comes to like spatial design and how you work with spaces. I mean, we're in your home now, and also with the birds. I mean, there's so many common nominators between. That's why it's very interesting. That's why I have a million questions. But to stick to the format, how would you describe yourself with 3 songs?
I mean, like, give me 1 year and I still don't have an answer. I can't answer to this because it depends on my day form. It depends on what I'm thinking. I don't know.
It's impossible to answer.
It's impossible to answer. I have to say, sorry, I can't answer this question.
No problem. This is the first. No one has ever said no to this. But maybe 3 artists that you like, musicians.
Musicians. Well, you know, that's also like, you mean like now, or I liked before?
It could be now, it could be before. I'll let you choose. Whatever. Maybe it's 3 discoveries recently that you'd like to share.
I can, like, my musical history in terms of my, you know, the years I've lived is very, you know, it's actually quite simple to describe. It goes in phases. So there's a, you know, there was like when I actually even had a band, I don't think you know that. No. It was called Bella Rosa und die bebenden Herzen der Hunde.
That should be the name of your space.
Yeah, I mean, like, maybe you want to play one of these songs, but just like that, because we performed twice. We made 2 concerts. It was me and a friend, Carsten Höller. I think we were like extremely bad and also like absolutely not very gifted, but we wanted to try, and we were like heavy under the influence of, you know, like I studied in Kiel. I studied agricultural sciences, but I always went to Berlin to this Berlin Atonal Festival, which is still ongoing. Mm-hmm. But in the 80s, it was actually quite a thing. It was crazy. I've never seen such a thing, you know. Okay, Einstürzen, Neubauten and Leibach and all these kind of things you probably know. But there were like so many weird bands. It was like violent, and it was like, you know, like it was incredible. I was overwhelmed. So that was definitely like a long phase of underground music. And then I had a reggae phase.
Minding my own business, I come face to face with my foe, disguised in violence from head to toe. All and I bought me go now. To let me go was not them intention. One nigga, the less, the better, the sure.
Which was also very pronounced. I had like a small grunge phase with like Christian death and this goth music, and like I'm glad that stopped.
I'm happy I'm in my nice, cozy apartment listening to birds now and not getting beaten up somewhere in the dark basement in Berlin.
So the reggae phase also took a while. I was very fond of like, say, Steel Pulse and bands like this. That was really big for me. And then I got hooked on Congolese music, as you know, because we made this, like you said before, we worked together. In 2008, 2009, we had this club in London, which was called the Double Club, which was basically a club divided in two parts, both like spatially speaking. So like all the spaces were as if there would be like vector lines dividing the space, like as if it would be like a like a piece of a cake or something, or cheese, and then glued together again. So like one corner looks like in the Congo, one looks like in the West. In the Congo, I mean what they call now the Democratic Republic of Congo, because there are two Congos. And then in the West again, Congo again, and then like the restaurant we made like a chessboard, like 3-dimensional, like squares, and the discotheque where you spent most of the time, because you were like one of our in-house DJs, was like divided just with a vertical line, and you wouldn't really see so much the difference between the Congolese part and the Western part. It was also very dark. The Western part was just nicely renovated and the Congolese part wasn't. And then in the middle of this, and like this virtual line was just crossing over it, was the dance floor, which was circular, a disc, and it turned very slowly. And my idea was that the DJ would be on this boost that we had on the dance floor, on this turning disc, very, very slowly. It took 1 hour, actually. It was like a clock. You could measure the time with it. And so half an hour in the Congolese section would be a Congolese DJ playing Congolese music, and half an hour in the Western section would be a Western DJ playing Western music. But everybody hated that. We did this at the beginning, and it was really not
impossible to... Yeah,
especially the DJs, by the way.
Yeah, because it's hard to build a set when every half an hour you have to stop. Yeah, it's like, 4 songs, 5 songs?
But then I don't know, like... I saw like one influence for me was, I don't know what the name of the place was, but I've been in Japan once in a music venue, which was great. They played fantastic music. But what they did was that they stopped the music suddenly, like, when the time was there, and there was like half an hour silence. And people started to talk to each other.
Oh, wow.
And, got drinks, and it was nice. And then, people were having fun. And then suddenly the music starts again. But like, slowly, and then gets wild again, and then stops again. And I thought that was so brilliant. And I felt very much at home in this kind of scenario. So I thought it might also work with the Western versus Congolese 30 minutes. But in London, we didn't get very far with this. But my Congolese music phase...
Do you remember a couple of tracks from that? That was played at the Double Club in London from the Congolese?
Yes, of course. We had like a few playlists, because the idea was like that we had 3 different spaces: restaurant, then the main bar space in the middle, and then the discotheque. So if in the discotheque there was Western music, often live, Fridays live music, then we would have Congolese in the main space. And then it was more like, say like older Congolese music, which is more like very guitar-based,
more
like
instrumental,
Franco.
Like yeah.
Bazuwa ya bosenzi mama munwe bomba bomba mabe kana sala kana mobali na yo na bomba makao oni makatele rona dimiliwae lerona dimiko sasa okoma kosala bazuwa lokola mwana moke yo moto koli bayebi yo mingi bandeko donc owela nde nini bazuwa ya bosenzi tikatika bombabomba mabe nga nazalaka na mobali na yo na bomba makao wandimaka te lelo nandimiliwa
Tabule, Rochero, genau, these people. Picale, you know, like this kind of more like, you know, jazzy kind of Congolese music.
If the music was also played in the bar area, or was it just?
It was in the bar. In the bar, yeah. And then a little bit in the restaurant too, if I remember, but mainly in the bar. And then you go in the discotheques, you have like completely different kind of music. And on Saturdays, we had every Saturday a Congolese band playing in the disco space, and then we would have Western music, sometimes even also live with Pam Hawk and people like that, for instance, in the bar and restaurant area. So that was but this Congolese music thing has never left me. So I'm still going to Kinshasa. Last time we went to exactly 2 years ago with a small group of musicians, friends, and some journalists, because I wanted to show this little film that we did, me and Mons Monson, to a Congolese audience, because this had never been done before. And we went, and Kinshasa, I don't know. If you like music, I think it's a must. You have to go there once in your life.
For sure.
It's incredible.
But why Congolese? I'm so intrigued by, because when people ask me, you know, where do you think music, the best music? For me, it's like Mali. Even though I haven't been, but Malian music touches me on a whole. It's a visceral experience with Malian music. But obviously Ghana's great, but also, for me also Dakar, Senegal is super interesting. But why Congolese? I'm so intrigued. What was the moment when you were hooked?
This I can say exactly. Exactly. I know the date, I know the place, I know exactly. And it wasn't even in Congo. It was in Benin, in West Africa, and I was there for the first time in sub-Saharan Africa, visiting a friend. I didn't know what to expect, but I really liked it. And then we went out in the evening. Sometimes we saw concerts, but we also went to discotheques because the music was interesting. And then they often, you know, there was one that we went to, was called 2001, on Jonquet, and they played always these Congolese bits in between other bits, you know. So there was like a whole section of Congolese music. And I saw like people would dance differently, and the whole vibe changed, and I loved that. And I saw like, what? Because I never heard it before. Yeah. Because you never hear it on the radio. Yeah. Never. No. Never.
Yeah.
And I know that at some point, and I maybe did this in my life only twice or 3 times, I went up to the DJ and said, what is this? And he said, it's Koffi Olomide. And I said, what? Okay.
I think that song request is totally accepted. Don't worry. It's something else when someone comes up to me and can you play Rihanna? And okay. But this is something I would do too.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know what it is, because I thought it was great.
What year was that?
That was 96.
Oh, wow. It's amazing. Yeah.
So then I got hooked.
And these bits were probably then the moments where you thought maybe later for the double club, right? When it's like these breaks when you switch in between Western and Congolese. So maybe that was one of the initial ideas behind it, when these bits were coming in the set in Benin.
Yeah, maybe. Actually, I never thought about this, but I think like you can, I also grew up in Belgium, and I'm German. I have German parents, but the neighbors on the left-hand side were Flemish, on the right-hand side, actually the other way around, they were Wallon, so they spoke like French there and Flemish there, and for me this was like the normality that you live in a double club, and then I moved to Germany later, and so like, why is everything so German?
I know exactly. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, for me, the double club, I mean, I was a student in London, and I immediately understood the first time I walked in, and that's why I was so drawn to it, and that's why I'm so drawn to the idea of this duality, because, I'm Persian, but I was born in Germany. So you always have this like dual life in a way. Right. And that's what I love about your work, and also the double club in particular. And when you had like half Congolese, half Western, or when we did it 10 years for the anniversary in Miami, like, I love the verse, Caribbean and Western as well. It makes it just so much more interesting. It's just way more color. And I think that's where cultural exchange is so important to creativity in general.
Yeah, but fusion is also like, I don't like the idea of fusion, like to make it into some kind of potpourri.
Yeah, but that's like going to an Asian restaurant as fusion Japanese. Okay, that's something else.
Yeah, but if you have like two units present at the same time, now let's say acoustic units or aesthetic units or spatial or whatever, for me, it's a relief. And for you too, if I understand you right. Yeah. Because I don't like this idea that you have to be in one place only. It's such a luxury that you don't have to decide, that your apartment doesn't have to look like one thing. It can be different parts put together. I think that's how we are much more. I mean, not everybody, obviously, but that's how the good people are. So
the woke ones.
So I just also thought in London at the Double Club, I really thought, for me, it's a relief. And then, of course, I was interested in the schizophrenia of it. Like, I sit there and I talk with you, and I see a Congolese background behind you, because we actually really went to Kinshasa and bought stuff and rebuilt it. It was like very well done. Yeah. And then you would see like a Western decor behind me, and so we, how is that influencing our conversation?
I thought it was super forward thinking at that time. We're talking about what, 2007, 8, 9, something like that, to a very like Western London. It's called high society as well, to bring this like Congolese. It was so foreign to them like that then. Today it's way more multi-culti. Things, especially with younger generations, they're way more open to the world. But back then it was like so foreign. But because he also had the status of an established artist, then the Mucha Prada being behind it, I think it gave the stamp of approval and kind of let people ease into it and accept it. I thought that was interesting.
Nobody came at the beginning. It was like empty. It was a disaster. I don't know. Okay, we opened completely at the wrong time. Yeah. November 2008, financial crisis. Yeah. Constant rain, and British people, what they do is they go to Christmas parties and dinners. So nobody came, nobody. We actually sort of closing again. It's like expensive to keep it open, But then I remember 2009, on the 2nd of January, which is very strange, it was for the first time, it was full. And not just full, very good people. Yeah. And then we had like...
I was there.
You were there. It's all your fault. And from then on, it was really like the place to be. It was amazing.
How many days was it open?
Well, like the plan was at the beginning, because I said to Mucha, I want this to be like an exhibition in some way, like a live experiment. We also had artworks in there, like in the restaurant on the walls, there were artworks. Yeah. So some people knew this was like an artwork. So they said like, where's the artwork? And they could see some art in the restaurant. So it was really working on very different levels. 6 months was a bit too short, especially since we lost almost 2 at the beginning. So we closed in early July, just before the summer. People were begging me on their knees not to close, but I said, we have to, I'm sorry. It's for the legend, it's necessary.
It's true, yeah. At the height of it. Yeah. And then 10th anniversary in Miami, which we worked together.
It was not really university. Miami was also called Double Club. It was actually called the Prada Double Club Miami. But it was not, it was more like we wanted to do another thing, and then there was very little time. We had 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And we had a venue, and I thought, like, what should we do with that now? And then I thought, like, the venue was great because it had like a quite a big inside space, really big.
It was the Ice Palace. It was called the Ice Palace.
Exactly. And a big outside space. So, but I didn't want to, you cannot, because, there was 1 year of work to make the Double Club in London to get everything installed. So we had to have a different idea. So we wanted to make something which is, again, two different parts. And you don't belong really to either one or the other. But this time it was about color or monochromatic. So inside was completely black and white, gray tones, monochromatic. Even the people working there, we painted their face in gray color. They had contact lenses or sunglasses. You wouldn't see the eyes. They were not supposed to open the mouth, by the way, so you wouldn't see the inside. It had to look like in a black and white film, So when you come in, no matter what kind of skin color you have, you must feel like too colorful, like in the wrong place in some way. And then the outside was the opposite. The outside was so much color, like we put like all these like LED stripes all over the place. It was full of colors, and it fitted, of course, perfectly to Miami also. But I wanted to make it more than Miami. Miami has already all these colors, but it was like 10 times more or 100 times more, I don't know. But where you as a person being there would feel like pale in comparison. Also, like no matter what skin color
you have. So bright, and the neon strips around the DJ booth. It looked like a Jamaican boombox.
Yes, that's what I thought it should look like actually. Yeah. That was a little bit because like the bar was there. Boombox. We just we colored it, so to say, and then we built a stage for the musicians. Yeah. So they corresponded very nicely. Yeah. I also thought like in this.
And why? Because it was Caribbean, made a bit more universal. I think it wasn't like Jamaican. It wasn't Cuban.
No, it was Caribbean because of Miami, and we had like this Haitian, big band playing, and we had like it was only 3 nights.
Yeah.
As 3 nights.
I remember, 3 long nights.
3 long nights.
1 night.
3 fantastic nights. Fantastic. I only wanted to stay the first night, but I couldn't go. It was too good.
I mean, I'll never forget you, me, and Muta Prada dancing together. That was so surreal. I mean, what's happening? Do you remember a track from that Haitian band or that Caribbean as a reference that was like the reference track for you?
No, it's more like, we Method Man and what's that?
Man. That was my booking.
Was your booking? That was great.
Yo, Miami, make some goddamn noise! How many motherfuckers out here in Miami is having a good time tonight? Make some noise out there. Let me see you. Where you at? Where you at? Go ahead, talk to him, man. You want to say something to him?
I'm changing my sneakers.
I think they got enough energy out here, right? Y'all love 90s hip-hop, right? I mean, because we them dudes from the 90s that put in work, and it's only right that we come to Miami to give y'all some 90s shit. Because I know y'all tired of the shit they playing on the radio, right? Okay, so let's act like it. So, Meth, what you gonna do for him? What you gotta say to him?
I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to say.
Alright, well, I'm going in there. Fuck that. Since we all here together tonight, and I've been smoking a lot, he been smoking a lot, I know y'all been smoking a lot, we're going to take it back to the 90s. We're going to take it back to the year 1992, when we did something like this. Let's go! Everybody say hell yeah! Say hell yeah! Hey! Hell yeah! Let's get ready! We have the whole body snatcher. We both can tell it, can I got you? Hard enough that I can do a whole time of rock. The fucking try to devil hit you with the rap level of 10. 1, 2, 3, you pay. I get that shit. I jump with the fuck in your waistline, pump it in your back trunk, and let loose with the juice when I do up. I'm too hot. Since got more juice than 2 pop. Straight out of Jersey. My brother, I'm action. Time was attraction.
I like everything. I like Princess Nokia, for instance. Yes, I thought about her.
It's getting hot in here. I'm the Nelly in the party with some rocks for ears. I'm a slave for you, baby, Miss Britney Spears. I'm a Clover, she a Taurus, bring it on for cheers. And I'm sexy like Christina when I dip below. Not an H-Town girl, but I rodeo. Yippee, yippee, Kanye, welcome to the show. It's an all-girl party, clothing optional.
You were also fantastic. You made a great job.
Thank
you. You were like really making it like, it was like...
Because I love that sound, I love that world sound, I love being eclectic, you know? And that's why the colorful room inside was totally speaking.
And even, what's his name, the superstar that we had, like...
Wyclef Jean?
Wyclef Jean, yeah, I don't like his music too much, but he was so great.
He was so good, yeah.
He was so good.
Yeah.
You know, I reconsidered his music. It was fantastic. Everything worked out very well.
Let's go!
Gonna find you and make you want me.
Now that I escape, sleep, walk away. Those who can relate know the world ain't cake. Jail bars ain't golden gates. Those who fake, they break when they meet their 400 pounds. If I could rule the world, everyone will have a gun. In the ghetto, of course, when Kitty up and on their horse, yo. I kick around drinking moonshine. I pour a sip on the concrete for the deceased, but no, don't. Wyclef's in a state of sleep. Think about the robbery that I did last week. Money in the bag, banker look like a drag. I wanna play with pelicans from here to back.
Perfect, then. I mean, it was the hottest thing, that Art Basel, Miami, for sure. Have you recently discovered something? You just came back from Ghana, like musically speaking, that you were like, oh, that's a new interesting artist? Because global pop is huge right now. Like, I think which is interesting to me, that now it's, also with the younger generations, the sound is traveling. Even the language might be different in different countries, but the sound is very similar. You have a lot of Latin influence, you have a lot of African influences. The Afrobeat is super popular right now, which I think is great. You know, there's amazing artists coming out and releasing on a weekly basis. But yeah, maybe you've discovered something on your travels recently.
Well, as I said, like, you know, I'm still hooked in my Congolese bubble. So I'm following that mainly. And I think there's some very interesting stuff coming up. The young people, it's like, they call it generations. So like the first generations were actually they were still like, you know, performing under the Belgians and then after independence and then. So, but now we are like, I don't know, 6th generation, maybe the 7th is just coming. So people like, for instance, Putna Filet or Fabregas, Le Métis Noir.
La femme de l'homme. Apakolaka na eba rouge à lèvres te Batiaka na bango yepe ba asile te Epa bana vernis Baplaka ye na notenga na kataka ye Ngamoko manzaka ya maboko pe ya makolo Na mino nanga Boya za pliske pom Terry Alino na simplicité Kolekata ya ba mamelo Elle est parfaite, plus qu'elle parfaite Alino Azana mokisa kokondele Nizama suka sula nzoto na itima paradis Shege marginal mon bout Azana mokisa kokondele Nizama suka suki na zana journée na Mamoni journée nanga bébé Journée nanga bébé Ya doudou besa étudiant picho boussol.
You know, people like that, Héritier Watanabe, I think they're amazing. They do fantastic music.
Raoul, R.O., les grands moineurs. Quand tu réussis, c'est grâce à eux. Et quand tu échoues, c'est ta faute. PDG Lucien et Bata. Ça boute en fou. Et dit en fou. Roger Ndonga, les colonisateurs. Patrick Meka, homme jeune, roi des blousons. Mon général, Amici Gabriel, tango fort. La force silencieuse. Mon général. Général Padiri.
Maria Milagros.
New concept management. Le grand charisme pour la Mouké.
You know, young people doing like a little twist, but it's still very Congolese. You hear straight away it's Congolese. And that's interesting because it's kind of resistant to this phenomenon that you just described, that it all actually sounds a bit the same. You know, you often don't know anymore if this comes from Nigeria or from Los Angeles suburbs somewhere or like something. It's all the same. In some way, it's like very similar. Like, you know, the beats. Yeah. And the mixes and, you know, like also the way how this is performed. So it's not similar. It's very, you know, that's not the right word. It's more like there's a level of trickiness in it, which is also due to technological advancement, certainly, that makes it, you know, as if, you know, like an algorithm almost has written it. But it's not an algorithm, it's the human mind that is evolving, co-evolving over the whole world into some kind of music that we didn't have before, but which is global. But then you have these pockets like Kinshasa, or like, I think it's really mainly Kinshasa because it's not really true for the whole country, where you have like, you know, music phenomena. And just to come back to that, I think like if you want to experience live music in Kinshasa, it's like incredible.
We have to go. I really need to go.
I've been there like I don't know how many times, but I can only stay for 5 or 6 days because after this I'm exhausted. Because we sleep until 12 or something, you know, like as long as we can. And then we start with we have like a big lunch because you never know if there's a dinner or not. And then we start with what they call like a repetition, which is like a mini concert, but it's already a concert. It's like the sun is still there and, you know, it's often outside. It's very nice. And there's like jamming sessions and stuff like this. But then it can go on like, you know, like even like on a Monday or Tuesday, it's like every day of the week, there is concert after concert after concert. And that's what people live for. This is like their identity is based on with whom they listen to, who's their biggest hero, you know. And there's always like the main acts, but there's always like so many other ones coming up. So often branching out from like you know, big bands like Zaiko Langa Langa, for instance, which is a band that has been existing for 30 years or so. There's one main singer, he's still there, but Zaiko Langa Langa has created probably so many other bands that were branching out from there, that were in there, or like, you know, like at a certain point, and then people get big enough, so they make their own thing, and but they take in young people again, so it's like, you know, this is not a band of 4 or 5 people, we speak about 20 or 30 people.
Wow.
So it's like, you know, like an organism that rejuvenates itself.
Wow. Okay, next time you go, you let me know. I'll come with you for exactly 5 days.
I will let you know.
I want to do an Africa tour anyway, also for Are We On Air. I want to go into each of those countries that I'm intrigued by, sonically speaking, dive deep into the culture, meet local musicians, and just bring that music to a broader audience, right? I mean, for sure. But talking about live organisms, I love your mushrooms, and mushrooms are a hot topic, obviously, right now. You have a little miniature sculpture here, which I think
it's a little between where I have like 3 double mushrooms. So it's always half, it's like a double club. So it's half one mushroom and half another mushroom. The only thing that when we choose how to put these, they cut vertically in the middle and then glue together again. But
are these real mushrooms?
No, but they. So I have this guy who picks the mushrooms in the forest, and makes makes a mold, and then makes a positive form. He's a specialist on this. So half of them is always a fly agaric, Fliegenpilz. So that's an interesting mushroom, I think, for many reasons. And the other one just has to match height-wise, but then it's a very different form. So it's a bit like a clash of forms, which like you want to put this together in your brain. So it's like there's a dissonance in it, and it makes you feel slightly uncomfortable, but it's also beautiful.
There's something about mushrooms, especially poisonous one like this in this case, or magic mushrooms, right, where you trip on them. And I think what's so interesting about your installation, where with the upside down mushrooms and you walk through, it's literally like a trip, right? It really kind of takes you out of, kind of like Baselitz wise, when you flip the painting, you have a whole different experience suddenly. I think that's the same when you walk through your mushrooms.
Yeah, the mushrooms are more or less permanently installed at the Fondazione Prada in Milan. Yeah, it's only this one work. This is like the one you just put. It's called Upside Down Mushroom Room. That's exactly what it is. So you go through a little corridor, which is dark. So you leave the idea behind that you know that the light comes usually from above. And then you continue this little corridor, and then you see light coming again from the other side. And then you come into this room, which is upside down. So the lights that should be on the ceiling are on the floor. So you're walking on the ceiling. And the mushrooms are hanging down from the floor. And they're quite big. Like some are maybe, the smallest one is maybe 1 meter, and the biggest one is maybe 4 meters. And they also turn very slowly.
That's your theme, a reoccurring theme, the spinning.
Yeah, I had this like... I don't know how I came up with this really, but I thought if mushrooms would spin, this would be so hard to understand that it would be a perfect way to make people, crazy. So I started with mushroom suitcases, which is like replicas of mushroom, which I did myself in clay or something, but they look very real. And then Fliegenpilz, fly agaric, and I painted them in different colors, actually, not just red and white. And then I put them in the forest with a little motor under them, and they were driven by solar energy. And the idea was that somebody goes in the forest and sees a turning mushroom and just can't understand. And this is so interesting. I think, like, when you see things that don't fit in anything that you know or that you can predict or that you have heard about, it's just something out of the ordinary. So you don't know what to do with it. And this moment I find very interesting. When you're standing there and you're like just, in awe, I think you say, like in English.
In awe.
In awe.
Yeah.
Exactly. I cannot pronounce it. I never said this before.
Really? No, I'm in awe. Now I'm in awe. Wow. And if you would score that room, that installation, to give it one sound, like one song, what would that be?
It has to be silence. Even the motors, we worked very, very much on the silence. I would even try to make you can make these negative silence. If you want to make this room any better, I would try to make it into a negative silence.
Like those crazy rooms where it's so quiet that you only hear a heartbeat and it drives you crazy after 15 minutes.
Yes, yeah, and you can do that with technological means. It basically works like the headphones, but you can do it in the whole space. So that's interesting. I've also been in northern Sweden once, and there's in the winter we went out with a snow scooter. And then we stopped the engines, and it was like so quiet that you don't hear anything. Yeah. It's amazing. It's actually like a sound because you hear yourself.
Exactly.
You hear like what is happening inside your body.
I had that when only once as well when I was hiking Machu Picchu, and when we're at a certain level, and I just let the group go and I just sat down. I've never heard this kind of silence in my life before. I mean, really, we were so high that you don't even hear insects anymore. It was like, it was just like the sky. You were by yourself. There were no winds, nothing. It was just pure silence. Scary. It's really, because you're just with yourself then. It's really, it's an eerie feeling. Beautiful, but an eerie feeling. Yeah. But when you work in general, or when you have an idea, do you listen to music? Like, do you sit here in your house or in your studio? Do you have a studio? I don't even know. Do you have a studio?
I have a workspace there behind where I have a studio/office where which is not very far away. I don't go so often there. Maybe once a week, if it's a good week.
Do you wait for the higher spirits to
No,
put an idea to you?
no. We don't. We don't need to sit physically in the same room. We communicate the means, and then I like to be alone when I work, especially in the morning.
Yeah.
And no, because music for me is something I listen to, and then I really want to listen to it, and that's why I love to go to concerts. I like to listen to music in my car. Sometimes I put it on loud. I don't want to listen to it when I work, when I do something. I don't even, use it when I do things that I don't need to concentrate on something. It's an active thing for me. But that has to do with the birds, I think. Because I'm so sensitive to my whole bird thing because I'm always listening for birds, automatically, nothing I can do about it. I even wake up in the night because there's a bird, it wakes me up, and I think, what was it? That I can't actually stand back on music, and sometimes I think I hate music, because it's like the way how we have music around, and it's like something I find it's terrorizing me. It's like it's no good, it's bothering me all the time. It's like I cannot sometimes I cannot do what I want to do, because the music is bothering me so much. I cannot buy something because the music is bad. It's like this.
Story of my life. Wherever I walk into, the way you have birds catch your attention is like when I walk into any space. Of course, my ear immediately draws to, even if it's just very subtle in the background.
The worst is places like when airports have music and you cannot escape it. Thanks God, they're really, disappearing. But the last one, Marseille, I knew was one of them, and I was trying not to fly there because but they stopped. So very well done. But then there's even cities where you have loudspeakers outside. So in Belgium, there's the city Charleroi, which is already very, very depressing because it had its
a very chic name.
It had a good time until maybe the 60s, 70s when coal and steel went down in southern Belgium. And I don't know, it's extremely ugly, but also they put on these loudspeakers on the lamp poles, so the whole inner city is clad in music.
And what are they playing?
Some music that should stimulate you in some way, depending on the day of, Muzak kind of stuff.
Muzak, yeah, that's what Muzak.
But it's you can't escape it. That's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
Well, we just talked about your space. You're opening a space here in Stockholm. A restaurant, club, bar, something along those lines.
It's called Brutalisten. That's the name.
Really? Oh, you have the name. Okay. Yeah. Brutalisten.
Loosely translated to brutalist. But brutalisten sounds almost like a profession.
Yeah.
It relates to brutalist architecture. So what we do is brutalist food.
How does that look like, brutalist food?
That's very easy to describe. So brutalist food is not that you take a piece of something and throw it on the grill or something. It's a cuisine which is based on the idea that you use only one ingredient for every dish. So if you make a salad, you make a salad with salad. And you don't make a salad niçoise with eggs and tuna fish and onions and everything. So you try to bring out the taste of this plant that you want to make the salad with, which is difficult because you're only allowed to use water and salt to add. So there's no spices, but there's also no lemon juice, there's no olive oil, there's nothing like this. So how do you make a dressing for a salad when you just have a salad? Well, you have to think about, the different parts of the plant, for instance. You can, for instance, use the roots and make something interesting out of it. You can use leaves that you ferment and make it into a sauce. You can take the seeds and extract the oil. So, you can get the full salad taste experience. Because, it's a bit like with music, actually, this kind of layering of sounds where the music has a little part in the middle, as if it would be mayonnaise to your daily life. Mayonnaise on a plate in all its different forms, that's something that I really hate. It's like a kind of kit or a Klister, something like that holds things together. And the idea is that, the chef, being like a great artist, something like this, makes a combination of different ingredients that should taste good. Okay, we know this can be the case, but very often it's not. Very often it's much more interesting if you have a good ingredient, not try to hide it under some other stuff, but just bring forward what this one ingredient has to offer in terms of taste. So I call it vertical cooking. You go into the taste of one thing instead of horizontal cooking, which is layering, taste, mayonnaise, some little decoration on top, little flowers on top of everything, like this.
Super interesting. And so it's a scientific approach to cooking, really?
No, it's a cooking approach to cooking. It's more like dogma films, You remember the dogma films? You couldn't, it was making films with restrictions. You couldn't use artificial light. You couldn't use a tripod. And they made, great films,
Yeah, by basically putting yourself into a square and try to work within that box, within that square, with what you have.
Yeah, but also, you have to be inventive in a new way. You don't have to be inventive and think to this ingredient matches that ingredient, all this stuff, what they're doing nowadays. You have to think about how to make this into a dish. And if it works out, I think it's brilliant. And also it's a new thing. So this is not, you find a little bit in Spain, Italy, Japan, you have some brutalist dishes.
Wow.
But in Sweden, no.
Oh. So after our musical trip to Congo, we come and eat here. So we have another trip to go.
Yes, yeah. So, but for the restaurant, I've been thinking about the music a lot, and I thought, how shall I? Because I want this to be about, eating, but then of course you want to create the right, surroundings to it. So you need furniture. You need to do something with the interiors, and then you also need to do something with the sound. But I still don't know, actually. I'm still trying to figure out. But I think...
Well, let's have a look at the space. And yeah, it's super interesting.
I want to keep it quiet. I will have a sound system. Actually, before it was a music club, and you can make the music very loud in there. And had this Berghain kind of function one speakers in there, which are amazing, you can really blow it up in there. It's fantastic. And it has these very thick walls in granite, so no problem with any neighbors. Actually, there are no neighbors. It's just offices. It's perfect. But for the food, I think I want to start without music. And that's going to be the only restaurant in Stockholm I know that has no music. You can see it in other places, it's not so uncommon. In Portugal, I've been at a show in Lisbon, and then I realized that many restaurants actually don't have music. It's very nice.
I heard that about Portugal and Lisbon as well. Yeah, I agree. I think the future in hospitality, or when it comes to restaurants, the future, but become a multi-usable space. From day to night, the space at the touch of a button changes.
Yeah, kitchen closes, music starts. That's how it should be.
Exactly. It's like a house party. That's really as we were just saying earlier, you just move the furniture, the tables a little aside, and suddenly you dance among the chairs. It's so much more interesting.
Yeah, I just showed you the prototype of the chair that we do
in Mexico.
A Mexican friends from La Metropolitana, and they made a stackable chair. So we can put them all on top of each other, and then we have space. Because it's not a big space. It's quite small. It's 32 people for sitting, and we have an outside area too, and then we have a bar space.
Amazing. Well, going back to taste and music, what's your go-to falling in love or heartbreak song?
I know what is not. What was this name? The name of the song? God damn it. That was this kind of... Very often, this is circumstantial, because you don't fall in love because of a song. But there might be a song around when you fall in love, and you might experience also maybe even the process of lovemaking can be interesting together with music, if this is, the right combination. So there's no recipe for it.
That's the next question. What's the sexiest song? But we're staying with loving, so you can give me 2 songs actually. Maybe that played a role in your past as well.
Yes, I think this Walk Me Baby is a very sexy song. I always thought like that's maybe the main trigger with many songs. They make you, they put you in a certain, like, mood is the wrong word, condition, so that you are receptive for this, because it's a lot about letting go. It's like dancing, it's also about letting go. You need to let go your usual way, how you move your body. You let it go into something else. And this letting go aspect, if music can trigger that, and that's what I think music can really do very often in very different ways, and doesn't have to be something danceable necessarily, it can be classical music too, then this then it gets interesting, because then you get also to, you can let go yourself, which means you can meet another person. That is also about letting go, and then you get to this little common space that you can reach when you're in love.
Oh, so beautiful said. It's true. Well, Carsten, to wrap up our little chat, if your life would be a movie, what song would play in the end credits?
I say one thing now, I say another thing tomorrow.
That's okay. I'll come back tomorrow for a second answer, but today...
I would probably put like a nice, Congolese, like, say, what would I put? Like something like Kesta Emeneya, for instance, or like a Pepe Kale, or maybe even a Franco, something long. It should be long, like, not a 3-minute song, like a 10-minute song, like a 15-minute song, like something that goes on and on and on and on. That's the kind of music I like.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure. I hope you enjoyed it as well.
A little bit.
Just a tad. Thank you, Carstën. Thank you for tuning in this week. If you want to listen to the full playlist, visit areweonair.com or our Spotify channel. You can also find us on Instagram and on YouTube at areweonair. And a big thank you to my wonderful team at Studio Neu. I'm Arman, and I'll speak to you soon.